What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel, and this is going to be another NBA video because there's just so much stuff going on. We're in the middle of the conference finals right now on both sides. The Denver Nuggets just took a commanding 3-0 lead on the Los Angeles Lakers. It looks like they're going to their first NBA finals in franchise history. And then on the other side, you have the upstart Miami Heat, the 8th seed Miami Heat. They're up 2-0 over Boston. Game 3 is tomorrow. I'm recording this video shortly after the conclusion of Game 3 of the West Finals series. And these finals, depending on how you look at it, have been very surprising on both sides. You got the Lakers, who are facing elimination, can't get a game on the Nuggets, and that's where I want to start because Game 3 was a must-win for the Los Angeles Lakers, and they came into this game, they started the game terribly. Jamal Murray went on a tear, scored 30 in the first half. The Nuggets were up by as much as 14, and luckily for the Lakers, they were only down by 3 at halftime because the supporting cast of the Nuggets, they weren't really doing anything. Jokic couldn't get going and other guys couldn't hit shots consistently. But in the second half, I noticed that Denver started running more offensive sets for Jokic. He got going. He was able to find his guys, get into the paint and score, even though he was in foul trouble. And he finished the game with like 24, 25 points after a very mediocre first half by his standards. Jamal Murray finished with 37, back-to-back 37-point games for Jamal Murray. Really the difference in this series, him going out, hitting these tough shots against the Lakers. I don't think I've seen Jamal Murray hit a lot of wide-open shots in this series. Most of his points are coming off of tough and contested baskets, which is really the highest degree of difficulty shot in basketball. So props to him for going out and making all these shots. And as the Lakers face elimination, you can definitely see that LeBron James just does not look the same in this series. He looks, I'm not going to say he looks washed, but it definitely looks like Father Time is catching up to him. Let's see if the Lakers can get a game, avoid the sweep. I don't think they're going to come back and win this series at this point. Denver's just a well-oiled machine out west, and I see them going to the finals and winning this series. And then when you look at the Eastern Conference Finals, the Heat went into Boston and got 2 games. I've always said, in my opinion, I think that Boston, the TD Garden, is the hardest place to play on the road in the NBA, just because the Celtics are already a very good team, and their fan base, for better or worse, they do get rowdy. People criticize Celtics fans a lot. Players have criticized Celtics fans a lot for racist comments. There's been a bunch of stuff with race involving Celtics fans and just a bunch of other stuff. It is, in my opinion, the most hostile environment in the NBA. And so for Miami to go in there and steal 2 games, it's just really insane. And in both games, the Celtics did have double-digit leads. Yesterday in Game 2, they were up 10 or 12, I think. And then really, the hero, Jimmy Butler, did his thing. He had 27 points, schooling Grant Williams at the end there. But really the unsung hero for the Miami Heat in Game 2 was Caleb Martin with 25 off the bench. He was hitting a bunch of shots, threes, layups, everything to sort of keep Miami in the game. And the lesson that teams are going to learn when these playoffs are over is that in the playoffs, you can't let Miami hang around because when they're down double digits, it seems to do something to them. They flip a switch and they just start playing really good defense. They hit a bunch of contested shots on offense. And I think the problem for the Celtics is they are struggling in these fourth quarters. Jason Tatum, I believe, has not hit a field goal in the fourth quarter of these 2 games. And it's really because Miami plays Boston different than other teams play them. They really get up in their grill on the 3-point line, make them drive the ball inside. And when you look at the Celtics, their offense is pretty predictable. It's a very heavy drive and kick offense. Jason Tatum, and they want to get ball movement going. And when they get into a mode where they're just driving and kicking threes, it's very easy to defend, especially for a team that's good, really good defensively as the Miami Heat. They can switch a lot of stuff, very versatile defenders, starting with Jimmy and Bam. And so Boston, I think their season is on the line too in Game 3, because if they go down 0 games to 3, they're not coming back and beating the Heat either, and we could be looking at a Heat-Nuggets finals. The saving grace, though, for Celtics fans and for the Celtics themselves is that they seem to play really good when their back's against the wall. Look at Game 6 against the Sixers, Game 6 against the Bucks last year. So the question is, can they go to Miami, beat the Heat twice on their home court, steal back home court advantage, and get to the finals like most people predicted that they would? I don't know. I don't see them going and winning both games. I think Miami has this series. I predicted that Jason Tatum was going to have a bounce back game and the Celtics were going to win game 2, and it was looking like that for a while. But with Miami stealing home court, I think that the Heat have this series wrapped up. I could see them dropping a game at home, but I don't see them dropping both games at home. That's just not, they're undefeated at home in these playoffs. And so I think the Celtics are going to at least lose one of the 2 games in Miami and either go home in a sweep or they'll go back to the Garden down 3-1. So those are my thoughts on the conference finals. 2 very great series. I want to touch on some stuff outside of the conference finals, though, outside of the NBA playoffs, because James Harden is a player that's been on my mind a lot because there's been a lot of rumors with him that he had a lot to do with Doc Rivers being fired. He is most likely probably not going to be on the Sixers next season, and that the team that he actually wants to go and play for next season is the Houston Rockets, the team that he was traded from to the Brooklyn Nets, who traded him to the Sixers after failed attempts to win a title. And I just look at this rumor about Harden wanting to go to Houston, and it doesn't make sense to me at all, because the Rockets are on a completely different timeline than what James Harden is on right now. The Rockets are a young, rebuilding team trying to figure out how to win basketball and more importantly, play the right way. And they just hired Ime Udoka to be their new head coach too, to try and get them to figure out how to do that. And the playing the right way aspect, that's what I think about a lot, because when you look at James Harden's prime in his career, he produced a lot of his points, a lot of his buckets. His career is ISOs, step back 3, driving, and layups. And so when you have a young team like the Rockets who have scorers like Jalen Green, young players like Josh Christopher, Jabari Smith, whoever they get in the draft this year with that 4th overall pick, they're guys who are still trying to learn how to play the game. Jalen Green has showed a lot of potential as a scorer, but he's a very inefficient player. And I don't think adding a player like James Harden, who is clearly not in his prime anymore, is going to help Houston in any sort of way. It doesn't help both sides at all. Houston doesn't get better because I don't think James Harden would be the best influence on a young team who's still trying to figure out how to play basketball. And then I'm not sure that the Rockets would be the best fit for Harden, because he's a guy who's trying to capture a championship. He's accomplished everything that you'd want to accomplish as an elite scorer in this league, and he's just missing a title on his resume. And so going to the Rockets is not going to help that at all. Not that I think staying with the Sixers is going to guarantee a championship, because we've all seen how they've struggled in the playoffs year after year after year. And so I just thought that was kind of odd that Harden is going to go back to the Rockets. If it does happen, I guess I'll be tuning into some Rockets games next season, because they may be a good team, because he still showed he's capable of putting up these monster performances. We saw he had 45 points in Game 1 against the Celtics, and then I believe it was 42 in Game 4 in that overtime win. But those were really the only 2 games that he showed up in that entire series. He basically quit on the Sixers in Game 7, it looked like, and so did Joel Embiid, to be honest. They were both pretty pathetic in that game. But that's enough with James Harden. Let me know what you guys think about that potential rumor of him going back to Houston. And then another thing I want to talk about, I touched on it a little bit in my previous video, is the situation with Damian Lillard in Portland. Because the day after the draft lottery, the day after we found out that Portland would have the number 3 pick in the draft, a reputable source, it may have been Chris Haynes from Yahoo, somebody said that they are going to try and trade that pick to bring another superstar player to Portland and try and win with Damian Lillard. And my reaction was, and based off of what I saw on Twitter, a lot of NBA fans have the same reaction, that's just not the right move for Portland. It's time for them to move on from Damian Lillard. And now they have a pathway to do that. They can trade Damian Lillard, get whatever assets they want from whatever championship team is willing to give those assets up. They can start fresh. They have Anthony Simons, a young guard. Jeremy Grant is still there. They still have guys like Shaedon Sharpe, another young player who showed a lot of promise. There's going to be some good players available at number 3, either Scoot Henderson or Brandon Miller from Alabama, and they're going to get one of those 2 players. And so you can start fresh and rebuild from there while Damian Lillard goes to that championship team that's capable of winning a championship and puts himself in the best position possible to win a championship. Because Damian Lillard, I'm sorry to say it, the Blazers have hit a ceiling with him, and that ceiling was shown in 2019. You can make a conference finals, but you're going to get swept like he did against the Warriors, who, by the way, were without Kevin Durant for that entire series. And they had a team with Dame, CJ, Yusuf Nurkic healthy, and they couldn't break through to the finals. And I just don't see that happening anyway with Dame in Portland, because really the only times we've seen small guards, and when I say small, 6'3" guards and under, lead a team to the NBA Finals, Steph Curry's Warriors and Isaiah Thomas's Pistons teams, the bad boy Pistons teams of the 80s and 90s. It's just not something that happens. You need a big man, a wing, as we're seeing right now in these playoffs. The team that's up 3-0 on the Lakers, about to go to the finals, who's their best player? A center. And that center, Nikola Jokic, has a guard, Jamal Murray, who can get buckets to complement him. The all-time great scoring guard is supposed to be a complementary piece to the wing scorer or the big man. And I'm not trying to downplay guards in the NBA, but it's not often that they're the best players on championship teams. You look at the East. Who's the best player on the Heat? Jimmy Butler, a wing player who's good on both ends, a two-way player who can get stops and get buckets. Who's their second best player? Bam Adebayo, a big guy who's a center, good on both ends. And that's how it's always worked in the NBA. Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Giannis, Kevin Durant. That's the recipe for winning. You can't win a championship unless it's Steph Curry or Isaiah Thomas with a guard being your best player. We've seen it throughout the history of the league. It's just not going to work unless the Blazers can find a way to bring some other superstar big man or forward to Portland. Karl Anthony Towns has been mentioned as a name, Paul George, guys like that. That could maybe work, but even if they do get guys like that, who's to say that's going to give them a championship? The West is still going to be loaded, and I'm just not sure that Portland can make it out of there. And the guys that are being mentioned with trade rumors, they aren't guys that I would necessarily trust in the playoffs, like a Paul George, like a Karl Anthony Towns, to play the way that they would need to play to get Portland to a championship. And so I think if the Blazers try and trade that pick and keep lying to themselves that they can still win something with Damian Lillard, they're doing a disservice to themselves, and they're doing a disservice to Damian Lillard, because he definitely deserves a real shot to compete for a championship, and I don't think that's going to be in Portland. So thanks for watching this video. That's what I wanted to talk about. Little NBA video, conference finals. I think we're looking at a Heat Nuggets finals right now, and I think that would be a really good series. Jokic versus Jimmy Butler. Other NBA fans might not think so, but that's probably what we're going to get. Let me know what you guys think about James Harden. Should he go back to Houston? Does it make sense to you? It doesn't make any sense to me. And then if you were the Blazers, what would you do with this number 3 draft pick? Would you trade it? Would you keep it? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching this video, and make sure to find the rest of my content linked in the description, and make sure to like, comment, and share the video. Thanks for watching.